This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Police have charged a man over the alleged assault of former Prime Minister Tony Abbott in Hobart last night. Investigators say a man wearing a Vote Yes button attempted to headbutt him as he was walking along the waterfront. To begin our coverage, we cross to Michael Breen. Good evening, Michael. How serious was this incident?
Well, Joe, we spoke with Tony Abbott as he was leaving his hotel here this morning. He was shocked but uninjured. Despite this, it's attracting a lot of attention across the country. Now, in a moment, we'll go into the reaction to this incident, including how it will affect the debate on same-sex marriage. But first, to how it unfolded. Tony Abbott is captured on CCTV walking through Hobart's waterfront yesterday afternoon. In the coming hour, his trip to Tasmania would take a dramatic turn. This morning, the former Prime Minister emerged from his hotel.
I think it's a great thing that Australian politicians mix freely with the people. I think it would be a sad thing if that was ever not possible.
After meeting with a newspaper editor late yesterday, Tony Abbott was walking back along the waterfront to his hotel. Police allege he was approached by a man in front of customs who headbutted him in the face.
Look, it's a shock. It's a shock.
Local Liberal Senator Erica Betts had been playing host to his colleague over the past few days. They had dinner at a Sandy Bay restaurant following the incident.
To use a term, he might have been slightly stirred, but definitely not shaken, and he's in very fine form and was overwhelmed by the warm reception.
I've been in touch with Tony and, of course, with the Federal Police Commissioner, and he's given a statement to the police.
Tasmania Police says it was only made aware of the incident after media reports.
Tasmania Police contacted Mr Abbott last night. After becoming aware of the claims, Mr Abbott then made a formal complaint to police.
This afternoon, investigators confirmed a 38-year-old North Hobart man was charged with common assault and has been bailed to appear in court next month.
In relation to the motivations behind it, Tasmania Police will not be involved in that and will be dealing with the evidence as presented.
Now, one key detail being highlighted in all of this, Tony Abbott says the alleged attacker was wearing a Vote Yes button. That's in the context of this controversial postal vote on same-sex marriage we're all going through at the moment. As Louise Hedger reports, both sides of the debate have condemned the alleged attack.
It's the campaign that continues to divide the community, but representatives from all sides are strongly denouncing the alleged attack on the former Prime Minister.
Please judge the issue and fill out your ballot paper according to the merits of marriage equality.
The last thing anyone should do is to resort to physical violence.
This sort of violence can happen when you dehumanise a group of people who are voting on this particular law.
Ben Smith was at a No Campaign luncheon with Mr Abbott earlier in the day and says the former leader received a warm reception.
If you want our future to be at least as strong as our past, there's only one course, and that is to say no.
He's concerned those on the no side are being deliberately targeted.
Well, we've had people on the roadside with signs up in the north of Tasmania, and they've experienced people spitting at them. They've had a car veer towards them.
There has been some ugliness as part of this debate, but I regret to say that nearly all of it seems to be coming from one side, and that is the people who tell us that love is love.
Long-time Yes campaigner Rodney Croom disagrees.
If anyone feels angry, feels the need to sort of vent that anger in an inappropriate way, I urge them to think twice. Because when this postal survey is over, we will still need to live together side by side as Australians.
Although representing different sides, they're united in fears for their personal safety.
We need to calm down, take a step back. This needs to be a civil and respectful debate.
It's quite disturbing that this sort of bullying and intimidation is coming to the surface.
With the debate continuing across the nation, community leaders here in Tasmania are calling for it to be conducted in a calm and respectful manner.
Everyone should be able to express their view and have their view, but should be free from any threat of attack.
I really hoped that we could be better than this.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Now to the day's other news. Tasmania Police is tonight searching for an armed robber who held up Mowbray's ANZ Bank. Staff and customers reported being shaken after the man entered the branch with a knife.
The bank's doors were firmly closed following the armed robbery which occurred around 2 o'clock this afternoon. Staff were shaken but unharmed.
Anybody that threatens someone else's with harm is traumatic for those people, and it's something that none of us want to see. It's something that desperate people do.
Police say the offender entered with a foot-long knife, threatening a customer and a teller.
He's also threatened the customer that was in front of him and held a knife to her stomach, and she handed over to him a small amount of cash.
The ANZ Bank staff working at the time of the incident remained inside the bank as police carried out their investigations this afternoon. An automatic alarm was triggered before the bank was closed shortly after the incident. The offender fled on foot.
Come all the way from Lagana to come to this bank and do some shopping. We're in the middle of a robbery, are we? Thank you very much.
Police say CCTV footage shows the man entering and leaving the bank alone. He is described as wearing a black hoodie, being 182 centimetres tall with a slim build. Anyone with information is urged to contact police. Rita Risk, Southern Cross News.
A witness who saw a Launceston man hit another over the head with a golf club says she heard the accused threaten to kill the alleged victim earlier that day. Jamie Alexander Collins has admitted he struck Christian Mark Whiteman, but denies accusations he intentionally wanted to cause him bodily harm.
Amy Evans was one of around 20 people who attended the Park Hotel Social Club's golf day on November 22, 2015. Today, she told the Supreme Court the group went to the Tamashanda Golf Club and said on the bus back to town, "I recall Jamie Collins threatening to kill Christian Whiteman and that he said he should have ran him through with a golf club when he had the chance." Prosecutors have alleged it was while Mr. Whiteman was unpacking the bus at the pub when Collins approached him from behind and with a 7-iron struck him to the head, rendering him unconscious. Mr. Whiteman spent 11 days on life support in the Royal Hobart Hospital and suffered a severe brain injury. Miss Evans said both men were extremely intoxicated, had both had a go at each other earlier in the day, and she claimed after Collins struck Mr. Whiteman, he said, "Told ya I'd f***ing kill you." Collins' defence lawyer has argued no threat to kill was made and that Miss Evans' statements today were inconsistent with what she'd previously told police. A pre-recorded interview with the alleged victim was also shown to the jury. Mr. Whiteman said since the incident he suffered memory loss and now struggles to read and write. He said he met Collins at a party 18 months before the assault. He said there was some sort of conflict at that party, but denied he threatened to smash Collins' head into a fire. The trial will resume on Monday. Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
A coroner has found the decision to discharge a patient from the Royal Hobart Hospital the day before he died was inappropriate and a poor decision. Jason Hosking presented with gastro-like symptoms on November 10, 2014. It was later discovered he had golden staph infection. He was discharged that evening and died at his home in Grove the next day. Coroner Simon Cooper found the hospital's processes around testing urine and communicating the results was unacceptable. He's recommended the hospital consider increasing its staffing in emergency as a result. The THS says all recommendations have been addressed. Up to $5 million has been committed tonight to look into how Tasmania can become the power battery of the nation. The funding from Hydro Tasmania and the Australian Renewable Energy Agency will go towards feasibility studies.
The aim is to double the state's energy capacity and make Tasmania the nation's battery. And today, funding to look into how that can happen was secured.
So I'm delighted to be partnering with Hydro Tas to be looking at the potential for pumped hydro and figuring out exactly what that potential is.
We're right here where some of these new projects could be going ahead if we prove through these studies that they're a good investment for Australia.
Currently, there's a short list of around 30 potential pumped hydro energy storage sites, and Sathana Power Station is one of them. The feasibility studies are hoped to take that list down to around 10 to 15.
That narrowing down from 30 to 10 to 15 is what we're working on right now, and we expect to have the results of that over the next 2 or 3 months to report on.
So the future of the energy system in this country is very much going to revolve around wind and solar. So not only are they the cheapest forms of new generation, they are rapidly getting cheaper.
When it's fully realised, pumped hydro could double Tasmania's current capacity. What's more is the Battery of the Nation initiative will lock in full energy security for Tasmania and help give the state some of the nation's cheapest power prices.
And we're going to try to make the Prime Minister's vision for a Battery of the Nation located down here in Tasmania a reality, and we'll know a year or two from now exactly where we stand on that.
Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
The Local Government Association of Tasmania has urged the Legislative Council Committee to oppose the takeover of TasWater by the state government. Legat presented its concerns at today's public hearing in Hobart, saying changing ownership from the state's 29 councils to 1 or 2 ministers is a conflict of interest. 53 submissions were made to the Legislative Council inquiry into the ownership of TasWater. The fight to find a cure for the debilitating condition motor neuron disease continues across Tasmania. The parents of a young mum currently in the fight of her life against MND today accepting a $5,000 cheque from Henry's Bar and Restaurant to go towards finding a cure.
Our daughter at the moment, although she's lost the use of all her limbs, she's very fortunate she hasn't lost her voice, because quite often the voice is the first thing to go. And Catherine is just coping marvellously well. We're very proud of her. It's going to be the worst day of our lives when we lose her, but it's going to be the best day of our lives when we find a cure.
Tassie's very own Big Freeze event, which will be held on October 7, will see local identities slide into an icy bath. All proceeds raised are going to the MND Foundation, headed up by former AFL legend and sufferer Neil Danaher. So let's take a look at the day's business and finance with thanks to TasPlan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has broken a 3-day losing streak as some buyers returned to the market despite negative overseas leads, but trading volumes were lower than average. The ASX 200 index has risen by 26.7 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 79.4 US cents and 88.9 Japanese yen.
Well, it's been going strong now for 38 years, attracting some of the country's best-known sporting figures. Today, it was Carlton legend Stephen Silvani's turn to be the guest of honour at the annual Bill Sorrell Sports Lunch in Hobart. With its guest speaker list reading like a who's who of Australian football icons, today's edition was no exception.
Look, I hear it's an institutional event, so look, I got asked a couple of months ago, so I was happy to come down, and obviously my coach at Carlton at the minute's a mad Tasmanian. The Carlton great addressing the crowd of around 700 keen listeners as the famous annual sports lunch entered into its 38th year.
I'd say 70% of the people have been here for the last 20 years. They just book tables every year, and I think virtually sold out next year already. As for the predictions for tomorrow's TSL Grand Final, it was one subject both sides of politics could finally agree on.
I'm going to tip Lauderdale because I like a good underdog. It's going to be close, but I'm going to tip them by 8.
Well, I have to back my local team, and I always like going for the underdog too.
The Carlton legend gave the tipping a crack also, despite very limited TSL knowledge.
I reckon the Bombers will get up there. Are they both Bombers?
They're both Bombers.
There you go.
Meantime, Cricket Tasmania has used its annual season launch breakfast at Blunston Arena to announce 2 big re-signings, with Simon Malenko and Brooke Hepburn back on board for the Hurricanes for the upcoming BBL season.
I've enjoyed my past 2 seasons with the Hurricanes. It's a really good team and a really good brand, and there was no confusion in my mind.
I'd love to be in the starting 11 every game. As I said, I've only had limited opportunity on field the last couple of seasons, but hopefully that'll change. I'm probably the only one that can change that by performing every opportunity that I do have.
Motoring enthusiasts from around the state have been given a taste of what they can expect this weekend as qualifying got underway for the annual Baskerville Historics. And with a completely refurbished track to work with, organisers are expecting a record-breaking weekend. It's a bit different to the Dodge Viper that's helped Jason White claim 6 Targa Tasmania titles, but this speed machine could see him break the track's outright lap record.
Yeah, we'll have a crack at it. We did some laps out here on Tuesday and managed to be nearly 2 seconds underneath it. So I think it's 37 years or something it stood for.
As qualifying got underway for this weekend's Baskerville Historics, organisers were able to see the reward from 4 long years of fundraising, with track refurbishments now complete.
We've had a target of raising $600,000. We've now reached a target of just on $1 million. And that's a year ahead of where we thought we would be.
Along with potential lap records, record crowds of more than 6,000 people are also expected, with motorsport icons Alan Moffat and John Harvey set to test the new track in the famous Rothmans VL Commodore that claimed a victory in the opening round of the inaugural World Touring Car Championships at Monza in 1987.
The track is in its best condition it's ever been, obviously after the resealing. The feedback from the drivers is that they're absolutely blown away.
Racing begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow. One of the country's most successful and well-regarded sporting figures has arrived in town, with 7-time Grand Slam champion John Fitzgerald, the guest speaker at tonight's Tennis Tasmania Awards, celebrating the success and contribution of local tennis communities around the state.
It's so important in our game, so it's a night for them, and the successful ones, I guess, might get a bonus and go to the Newcomb Medal in Melbourne in November.
The awards began a short time ago at Hobart's Henry Jones Arts Hotel.
Good evening. It's not a Tigers bandwagon. It's not a Tigers train. It's a Tigers juggernaut. And once again, my wife has decked me out. Sorry about that. Hobart 19 degrees today. Launceston 16. Burnie 15 and Devonport 14 degrees. There's going to be trouble getting to Melbourne tomorrow, by the way, for those flying out of Tasmania for the game. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Campania and Fingal shared the top of 19 today with Hobart as we experienced a fine, mostly sunny day. St Helens, Friendly Beaches, Grove and Bushy Park all 18. Strawn and King Island 16. Lowhead, Wynyard, Lyreweenie and Flinders Island all 15 degrees. Now there is mid to low level cloud over the west and south, that mid to high cloud around the coast of New South Wales and Victoria, with the other patches over southern WA and southeast Queensland. Now that cloud over our west and south dissipated during the day before high cirrus cloud moved over later. A cold front moves over the southeastern states tomorrow, extending to a complex low with several centres. A trough pushes over Western Australia. Northeast and northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, although variable over the north before increasing later in the day. Strong wind warning, that's for waters between Southeast Cape and Cape Portland. A small craft wind alert for the lakes. The forecast for tomorrow, rain at times for Hobart, 20 degrees, 17 for Medina, rain for Oatlands and 16. Launceston, rain, 18 the top, 15 for Devonport, rain for Lyreweenie and 13. Rain for Burnie, 15 the top, 17 for Strawn, very windy later in the day, becoming windy too for Marrawar, 15 the high. And in the east, light rain, St Helens 19, 21 for Swansea and Orford 18 degrees. On Sunday, showers extending statewide before contracting to the west later on. Showers again on Monday with fresh west to southwesterly winds. Fine on Tuesday with maybe a light shower over the west and far south. A shower in Perth and Adelaide tomorrow. Windy in Melbourne, and that's the problem. A lot of aircrafts are going to be flying into Melbourne tomorrow. There are warnings about some delays with the Melbourne airport. So 29 degrees and very windy. Let's hope we can get there for the game. Also sunny in Sydney, a sunny day in Brisbane and 31 degrees. It's cloudy here, Hobart 14 degrees, Launceston 12 and Devonport, bit of rain about and 12 degrees. If I can't get Donna to the game tomorrow, it's all over for us. And in the TSL Grand Final, the Bombers.
That's hedging your bets. Thank you very much for that, Merv. Good luck, Donna, for tomorrow. Well, just before we leave you tonight, our news broadcast times will be affected tomorrow night because of the AFL preliminary final between Richmond and the GWS Giants. So we'll have a special bulletin which will air at our regular time of 6 o'clock over on 7:2. Then our normal news right here on Southern Cross will be straight after the football at 8 o'clock. So join us then. Well, that's all the news from us here now. We'll see you a little bit later with updates, but have a great evening. Good night.
headbutt. Now, it wasn't a very effective headbutt, obviously.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And that's the story.